So your mic is off.
And agenda minutes done.
I have a copy of the agenda and all the material for today. Somebody needs it. Huh?
Want me to wear my mask or?
No, I just have a little procedure coming up and I need to stay clean. It's not a big deal. Nobody else has to.
I'll wear one.
It's up to you.
I wonder what you're thinking.
More about me.
Smiling.
Well, just
So what? About should look.
Hey, well, Rick, isn't that Rick up at the front?
Joan. I thought I was coming in.
Unless his add-on secondary. Good, how are you? Bored? I grant you another day, you gotta make it the best.
Oh, that's good. And then two.
Get through this meeting, I'm going home and have a martini. I get through this meeting, I'm going home and have a martini. It is. Huh?
Only one? Only one?
Yeah, I can't do two. I have a two-story house. Hey, Rick, sit down right here. I want to chat with you. While we're waiting, something you're joining the. Actually, wow. Lisa, how are you? And I think they ran in order to choose what.
John. We've got that there. Yeah, there was another one by just off the green belt. Was it one? Oh, no, no, no. It was where they just done the work on the Swarthmore.
We were talking about dry scheme as an alternative. Great idea, let's see.
I don't recall that. I know whatever your idea was the first.
Okay, next time we do our walk. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, Betsy might remember.
No, it turned out to be fairly mild. I was living in West Berlin at the time. There were a series of side us and working for repeatedly. And the thought was Saturday morning. For a dry study, quite a while. Worked in iodine. And my name was child. And always, she's sick. She has chicken pox. And then he looked at me, he says, "That was this last chicken pox." And I said, "No." And he laughed. He said, "Well, you're going to now." Okay. Sure. And I'll be like, oh. I'm surprised. Having the party, it's gonna be adults, I said, no balls house. Jack's got pink eye. Oh, I said, oh my God. And he did, nobody called him. He definitely loved it. It's like that.
And so it's not.
Yes. Did you guys divide your zone up? We did. You got it when you see it. It is delicious. It was wonderful. I labored long and hard over this. And it was all right. Oh, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 zones. That's it. Yeah, really, it was like the houses and do this. Oh, it's perfect. We can just go right up through the. It's perfect. Exactly.
So do I need to use this since I'm,
Well,
there's nobody,
Or.
I guess.
for the recording.
We lost our. That's what zone is. Right?
Okay, hello, everyone. Let's start since we've got quite a lot to discuss today. Rick Lawrence, are we ready to start? So just for mentioning, we're all ready to start, are we? Okay, so I'm waiting for two. So Linda Cook is going to be 10 minutes late, so she's going to show up, and we're waiting for Solveig Toft for Zone 7. So why don't we just start? So I'm taking the roll call, and we've got everybody in except for Solveig and Linda, who will be joining us later. So just moving on to the agenda, need to approve the August minutes. Does anyone want to move to approve the minutes? Jolene moved. Rick second. Show of hands of everyone who's in favor of approval. Hang on. Favor of approving minutes. Everybody here? Up, Jim. Okay, so all in favor. Okay, great. So Jolene and Rick. Okay. Okay. So next item is the liaison report. So Cheryl, over to you.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cheryl Nelson, the liaison to this grounds committee. At the last board meeting, there were several things that applied to the committee I just want to cover for you. One is that we approved a contract for the levy survey, which will help those in Zone 7. So that's in moving along to get a survey of that area. We also changed the form that we've been using for a homeowner request for landscape. The form looks like this. It's at the front desk for people to pick up if they wish. And the part that applies to this committee or will be of most use to this committee, I don't know if we have that form online. Do we have it up where people can see it?
The service request.
Yes, the homeowner service request, landscape request. We made changes. There have been some concerns about how this process works. The intent behind a form is to streamline when something needs to be done. The two changes we made are on the form itself, the authorization. The board authorization for the policy is a 2-page document that it's what applies to this group is on the item 2, where proposal first, when there's a proposal to do something, it's first going to be discussed with the board liaison and the grounds committee chair. In their absence, it names who will be stepping in to be consulted. With the concurrence of those people, then we can proceed with a work order requesting a proposal or with the work order if the proposal's under $2,500. So that's now written. This has been the kind of informal, and it's now up on the board. This is in draft form. The formal document is available, and you can have a copy of that if you wish. So that was approved at the last board
Excuse me?
meeting.
Isn't the finished product what you included with your materials for the committee meeting?
Yes, yes, it's here.
So
I
we
just want to make,
we
you
have a
do have
copy of
it.
the
I just
final.
wanted to make sure that the people in the audience who might not have the binder also got a look at it. So that's why it was up. I requested it. The other thing that the board discussed was requesting this committee to work on a process for bark remediation. We'll be looking at that in our October agenda probably, but basically the board would like to have a short and long-term plan for use of bark. What to do, if, for instance, if we have no process, nothing approved, but we've got areas that are just bare dirt because the bark is gone. What alternatives we can come up with to bark and a plan for implementation. So those will be to the charges to the committee that were approved by the board coming forward, and it'll be on our October agenda because we're pretty full right now. So that's my report. If there.
I had trouble during the board meeting, and you just went through it very quickly here. The process for the new homeowner's request and approval. And I'd made the comment to Christina that I was going to try to develop a flow diagram out of those words. And if the committee members would like to see the effort at that flow diagram, which it helps me to see it that way, rather than just in words. That's why the easel's here. I asked Betsy to bring the easel in. Christina, if there's people want to look at that in a flow diagram form, I'm ready to make an effort at that.
You mean that what steps are taken and who's
Yes.
taking them? Okay.
Go ahead.
You want to do it now?
Yeah.
Would you?
Do you want to do that and we'll come back to discuss it rather than take the time now while you're drawing it, or do you have it already drawn?
I've got it here and I can describe as I go along because I'm going
Something
to.
that you do not like about this, or is it, oh, sorry. Is there, was a change that you wanted to make, or what exactly, Don?
No, I'm just a shorthand version of what I've got here.
Well, maybe you could give us that after, send it to the committee members afterwards. How do you feel? What do you think? Do you feel people don't understand the process?
Whatever the
Does
committee.
What do members feel about, do you understand this? Yeah, we understand that, but how do other committee members feel about this, about looking at the flow chart now, which Dawn is going to put up, or do you have any questions on this? Is there because we're looking at is a change that was made, I guess, in your section.
Yeah, this would be a clarification document. So if it comes to the committee after the meeting, would that be sufficient, I think is the question. Comments?
Well, I think one of the things I found of interest is that this, as I read the document, once the proposal is received back to Betsy from the contractor, if it's greater than $2,500, it comes to a committee of three: Betsy, Christina, and Cheryl. If any one or two of Christina and Cheryl are absent, it then goes, they are replaced by the president and or vice president of the board. Now, in order to pass that request on, pass that committee, it needs all three of them to approve. But if they're both missing of the board president or vice president, It only needs one of those. Does that sound correct? You don't need both the president. If the president and vice president replace Christina and Cheryl to retain a committee of 3, only one, the president or the vice president, has to approve. If it's the committee of 3 originally with Christina and Cheryl, it takes approval by all 3 people.
I think that the intent is that the manager is always part of that. So the
And-
manager
and
also
and
always,
yes, and everything I've said is include the manager is always there.
correct.
I'm only dealing with the other 2 people, and I'm just questioning the understanding of people, because that's my understanding of studying and reading through the text.
If both Christina and I are absent, then the president or vice president would be the people who step in.
Only so there can be a decision made with only 2 people rather than 3 people.
No, the manager is always part of the
The
decision.
manager is one of those 2 or 3 people.
No, the
I think
president,
what Don is asking is, if both of you were on vacation, would John and Marcus both have to be consulted,
okay.
right?
That's one question. Would they both have to be there? But since only one of their votes is needed. And if the 3 of them are there and there's a 2-to-1 vote, and the two vote to pass it, it will pass. See the
All right.
see the question, and that's,
All right. I cannot absolutely answer that question for you right now. I'd need to consider it, but I can do that and give you an answer at the next committee meeting if that suffices.
well, as we move forward.
I will
that's a
need
step
to, yes.
forward.
I will need to consult with the board who approved this document to find out what their thinking is on those particular questions and come back to you.
Yeah, and during the board meeting, Cheryl, I asked for an additional explanation from you. And you read through the text
Right.
again, and the text was still
Right.
the-
I did not understand
an
your question to be
interpretation,
that
so-
how many votes question. I
I'll-
did not
I'll await
understand
your-
that part. Okay.
Oh, wait, your
I will
information
ask.
Clarification.
I have a question. Now, it's my understanding that there is a form that goes with this, the instruction portion is
Yes,
that, okay.
there is a form. It's available at the
Wasn't
office.
included as part of the package. I
It's
was
the
looking-
standard service request form.
And maybe one other comment, one of the things that I know Christina's addressing is the work order process. And in this process, one of the initial steps is a work order is written. The committee members see that work order periodically as it's distributed through Christina to the committee. So we will see in some time frame that work order and the resolution of the work order. But maybe not necessarily, the work could be completed before we would see anything.
Correct.
Is a possibility.
That's correct. Right. The intent behind this process when it was first developed, I wasn't around, but at that time, the intent was to get something done that needed to be done quickly rather than go through the complete processes. So that again is part of the decision making.
I think that's 2 pieces to what the less than $2,500. When I first heard about that, I was not on the committee at that point. I said, that's a great idea. The establishment of a more detailed process incorporates that less than $2,500, but it's not the only, it's
Okay,
more than one piece.
So we'll be waiting to hear back from you, Cheryl, as to what the board actually intent is on this. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So let's get on to the homeowner comments. We've got a number of homeowners here. Do we have anybody online as well? Okay, so if the homeowners, who would like to speak? Okay, but why don't you start with, we need a mic.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Joan Roberts and I live over on Swarthmore, and overall, I think Nepenthe is beautiful. I love the landscaping, so I'm even sorry to even be here. Before the landscaping started on Swarthmore, Oscar from our landscaping company knocked on my door. There you are, and asked me if it'd be all right to take out the bushes that were there. Of course, I said, I'm fine with that if you replace it with something of equal size, because it blocked my front window from the street and it blocked my porch from the alley. Now I have these little tiny itsy plants. Everybody has total access to look into my home, and anybody driving down the driveway can see my Amazon packages. It's not what we agreed on. We talked about big flowery bushes that were going to come up a quarter of the way to the window. I just felt like I needed to say that this is not what we agreed upon, because I know I specifically said plants of the same size so that I can still have my privacy. When I look out, I see beautiful plants, not cars. And when we talked, it was my impression that we had reached an agreement that that is what it would be. I have some photos if you care to see them. But I came home from vacation and I have these little tiny plants that are blocking nothing.
What address are you?
2273.
And when was this done? The remediation? Oh, Oak and Tree remediation. Okay.
Right, right. If that's what it is. But then I left, I came back 2 weeks later, the whole project was done. It's lovely, but it is not what we agreed upon.
I'm sorry, where do you live?
2273 Swarthmore. I'm just a few doors down from here. Well, I realize they have to grow, but the ones that are blocking my porch are not going to be big all the time. They are seasonal. I realize that. That is just not what we agreed upon. And I'm sorry to even be bringing this up.
So we don't have, do we have any idea as to, apart from Joan speaking to Oscar? No.
Okay.
So it's really the zone stewards who would be, or Betsy or something. We can talk.
We can look at
it. Yes.
We were told that plants were going to be replaced, but it wasn't specified that they were going to be 3 feet or a certain height. Or what.
I kind of figured that was, are you remembering that I said if it wasn't the same height, I was going to chase you down and find you? No, not you, Oscar. We talked on the door and I said, I will track you down. And he said, oh,
Well,
okay.
I think this is a good reason why we always ask for homeowners to speak either to the manager or to the zone stewards. I think in this, so to avoid this situation, Joan.
Okay.
So I think I think for everybody here, it would be very clear on that. So this is how we can have errors, mistakes. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So what we can do is the next zone 2 walk, zone stewards, Diane. So the next zone 2 walk, we'll take a look at that area is what I'm just saying to Joan. Yeah.
It's lovely. I'm not saying that
No,
it's
no,
not lovely. I'm saying, and you can tell by the pictures,
I
it's
do
a
understand.
straight shot into my home and
I
a
do
straight shot to
understand.
my porch.
I do understand because we have a lot of homes that are facing the street and therefore we need that privacy. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll look
Okay.
at that. Thank you.
If you would.
Yes, that'd be good. Yeah.
You want another? Here's a couple sets I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Again, I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Overall, beautiful, love it. Just want to talk about this issue.
Carol?
Martin. I had a question, and I guess this would be for Christina. Do you watch month by month or quarter by quarter the budget versus actuals for landscaping?
Not the month by month expended, the suggested expenditures,
Expenses versus or actuals versus budget.
not at committee level, no.
Okay. And Cheryl,
That
do
would be
you,
Cheryl.
on behalf of the board?
The board looks at those things, yes. And so that's various people on the board will look at those things on a regular basis.
Okay. And do you know do you look at them yourself?
I sign most of the invoices that come through for payment. And so I have a chance to look at those. And I also, in the board process of approving the recommendations and work orders from the board, certainly see those things.
So you compare those to what the budget is at that point in the year?
I don't compare it at the budget at that point because it's sort of a global moving target at that point. The board has an idea of where we are. Again, it's a moving target. We don't see it every day, but we have a moving target. And if we look like we're getting close to spending something in one category, we look for funds that aren't being spent in another and balance our budget that way.
Okay. And what tool do you think would you use or does the board use?
The board doesn't prepare the financial documents. We use the documents prepared by First Service.
And which of those tools do you use to look at that comparison?
We don't do it on a continuous basis. We look at it and we have an idea where we are at the process. There is an informal thing that's been called a reserve tracker. Before that, there were forms that we got from First Service, and we look at those things. We aren't accountants, so we don't do number by number, and we don't check the bank statements for this. We have an idea of where we are, and we move within that. If we think we're having a problem, we look at other categories within the budget to see where we have funds that we can use.
Absolutely. I'm talking about looking at one large number for landscape, for instance, not individual numbers.
Right. And
So-
there's just a lump sum that we look at and we move from that. If we're getting close, if we think we're short, then we look for money in other places to move into those funds.
Okay. So the reserve tracker, I noticed that in that there is a substantial error. There's a cell error. I don't know if you do that or somebody else does that.
That's probably best to be taken up at the board meeting because the board as a whole, I'm giving you my opinion now as a liaison, but the board itself is the one that needs to tackle and talk to you about the overall financial and what their plan is and how they're adjusting things.
I know it's been brought up over the months to the board by homeowners. And it continues to be for 3 or 4 months now, substantially incorrect on the landscaping lines.
You might want to put something in writing and send it to the board with the documentation so that they can consider it for the agenda. That would be the best way to get it discussed.
So if homeowners are looking at this, or if you guys would look at, I know if I was ever on a committee or whatever, or chairing a committee, I would certainly want to know where we are in general. And there's lots of different ways to look at it, but
Right.
just want you to be aware that if you're using that tool, that you probably wouldn't want to be
Right.
using that tool.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the other areas where we also need to understand is finance committee is also involved. And so it's always good to be also on the finance committee, and that's what we all tend to do. And I know finance is right now working very closely with the financials, getting the budget together, and also fine tuning the reserve tracker. So I think a lot of information will come from them. So that's not really our task, not our area, but we're all conscious of what money is being spent.
Do we know who puts the data into the reserve tracker?
It's
you.
Betsy does
Okay.
that.
So you may want to take a look at it and find, or you can let me know and I can let you know where the cell error
Yeah,
is.
well, you're more than welcome to email me. You know where to find me. I'm always available to you, Carol. So I'd be happy to review that with you. The formulas in that form were not created by me, but I do input the data.
Okay. Okay.
Finance working on that right now, isn't it? Yeah, they're working on that. So it may be good to be at the next finance meeting.
Exactly.
I would even go so far as, perhaps there is no place for the tracker. It may be better to rely on the financial reports published by First Service each month to the Board of Directors. So,
And I'm not sure those show budget to actual on an ongoing basis. Thank you.
I had a question.
Homeowner comments here right now.
Anyone else, any other homeowners would like to speak? Go ahead, Nancy Cochran, right?
Hi, I'm Nancy. I live at 1427 Commons down by the end of the roundabout. And I understand that one of the giant redwood trees in front of my house is unfortunately infested with beetle bark, and it's going to be removed in the fall. I also understand that that section between my house going in front of Steve Huffman's and then down in front of Anna and Bill Haldeman's home is on a remediation plan. So I have been given that information. I just wanted to make a couple comments about that. Any of you that have been in that area that have looked at that particular part of Nepenthe, it's horrific for the amount of money that is spent on landscaping within the community and the amount of dues that are spent. That particular area especially is horrible. The ivy is dying. It is threadbare. It is half dead. It is half pulled out. It's dirt. Nothing really grows underneath those redwood trees any longer. Perhaps the ivy has outlived itself, but my understanding is that the roots of it cannot be pulled out because of the sensitivity of the redwood tree root system. I'm very mindful of that when I'm making these comments. My understanding is that ivy is supposed to be replanted in that area. So I'm not sure if we think that new ivy is going to grow better than what's growing there now, number one. Number two, I also understand that there is supposed to be walk-on bark that's placed in that area. It seems that the use of bark seems to be a topic of conversation with lots of people and this committee. What I don't understand though, is I've been told that the use of walk-on bark means that it cannot be blown, which makes sense because the gardeners are going to blow away all the bark. But if you put walk-on bark underneath the redwood trees in front of my house and in front of Steve Huffman's house, it will soon be covered over by tree trash. The leaf litter from the redwood trees will fall on top of it and it will just remain there. So I'm not sure why that's a particular solution. I, leave it to the experts, but I do have comments about that and feelings about, why spend the money on walk-on bark if it's only going to be covered over with tree litter? If you can't blow it, then don't put it down there. I have also made a request for the remediation to possibly look into a dry creek bed treatment. The use of rock in that area is used throughout the community. I've walked around, I've taken photographs of it. I know what it looks like. It's lovely. And I think that that is a potential that could be used rather than spending all kinds of money on new bark. Also, with the removal of that giant redwood tree, which is unfortunate, but I understand that it's necessary. With the removal of that tree directly in front of my house, the entire sunlight, everything is going to change for my house. And I know things change, but with that being done, I have also asked the committee to, and I know I've talked to Betsy about this, and that is something that's going to be requested from the arborist, but I do think a replacement tree of some type between the stump, which I understand cannot be pulled out and ground out because of the sensitivity of the root system. That stump will be there, but between the stump and my front window, I would be asking for some sort of shade tree replacement, perhaps a Japanese maple tree, which is the same kind of tree that was planted in front of Steve's window some time back. Also, I have made this request, but I've been told that it's not part of the remediation process. The grass on the right-hand side of my sidewalk, which is not included in the portion of the remediation plan,
doesn't grow there. You've tried and you've tried and you've tried, and it doesn't grow. With water, with seed, it doesn't grow. It's too steep. It's a terrible location. And I've asked and asked and asked, what can we do about that? And so now I'm asking again, can that part of Nepenthe be included in that same remediation plan? Because you walk up to my house, it looks like, it doesn't look like I'm paying $547 a month, which a huge portion of that goes to landscape. So I am asking for somebody to take a look at that. I know Dawn has looked at it, I think as my zone person, and it's just threadbare. It just doesn't grow. And I get it. Sometimes grass can't grow in places. So put something else there. And I think that's it. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much. It's
1427
yeah, we've-
comments.
comments, yeah. So we're doing a zone walk tomorrow. Did you want to say something, Nina?
I need to.
Yes. No, it should be on.
It should be on.
Can you hear me? So,
No.
don't, okay, I just want,
Don't-
don't turn them off. Please don't turn them off. No. You might need another microphone.
Yeah, don't turn you off the microphone.
Okay, it's going to now. No, it was off.
Yeah, so it shouldn't be off.
Try it.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, I know you can hear me now because I can feel the vibration. If there's not room for a tree because of there is a limited amount of space with the root system there, perhaps there's another kind of camellia bush or something that could help shield the window and provide some shade that's going to be missed from the big redwood tree. I think there's some way to work this out and to make it look good. And we've had quite a few discussions about this, so I think there's a path forward. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. And Nancy has actually emailed all of that to me and I've responded that we'll be on a zone walk very soon. We also have some other proposals to look at. So I think we are on our way to a resolution.
Yeah, we'll be looking at it tomorrow, as a matter of fact. Perfect, okay. Anyone else here? Homeowners who would like to speak? Online, we've got two people. Mr. Pelkofer and Marilyn. Anyone wants to speak? You're muted though right now. No, okay. All right. So, there's Mr. Peter, do you want to speak?
This is Peter. I just would wish that whoever is speaking would use a microphone because,
We're all using microphones.
well, I noted Lisa didn't use one. Whenever someone is speaking and they're not using a microphone, you cannot hear anything on Zoom. So please ask everybody to use a microphone. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's move on to the next item on the agenda. And this is, we're finalizing the zone walk subdivisions. Are there any questions on this? We just wanted to say that we've done a few walks. We did walk in zone 1, zone 2, and we used the subdivision there, which Diane and Jim and with Rick and Nance, and Linda. What's your name, Linda? The rest. Now, zone 5, Dawn did you've done a good work in dividing our zone, so that's good. So I'm just wondering with zone 3 and 4, and so you've got yours. Okay, so we will need, and then zone 4, you'd be doing a walk, so you've done yours. Excellent, so that's all great. Zone 6, have you guys? No, okay, we can work on your zone then, the subdivision. Have you done any subdivisions on your zone? No, okay, we can figure that out. And then Solveig is not here. I don't know what happened. She said she was going to be here. Yeah, she was going to do 2 sections. So what would be really helpful is if we could take copies of that and then put it on file.
Yeah, give it to Normal.
She can
Yes, if you can bring your subdivided map to the office, Normal can take a scan of that. And then we can start working on the zone walk schedule for each subdivision.
For 2023. And or for that and for now. Okay, perfect. Did you want to say something, Lisa? You were looking at me, um, Mike.
I was just looking at the zone 3 and I was looking at Jolene. I'll give Nirmal my copy.
That's great. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Thank you. And so we're going to use the zone 4 tomorrow. Is it that we're going to do that? Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Okay, excellent. Okay, that's great.
Zone in every season.
Excellent. And do we have any service requests for zone 4 tomorrow? No, apart from that. Okay, okay. Because then we usually add that as well. The service, if we have any service requests, we then actually go at the end of the assigned zone walk, we go and look at the service requests.
Okay, so you can say like zone A, 4A, is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
To be clear, zone 4 is the next zone
Tomorrow,
tomorrow.
yes. You just did yours, unless you want to do yours once again.
I thought
It
it
just
would
was there.
follow.
We just last Friday, you forgot. Okay, so now the next item on the agenda is work order proposal ranking plan. This is something Cheryl at the board has discussed. So we all need a copy of that. Do we have it on? Oh, okay.
And I've made this request before. When we get documents and stuff, can we put dates on them? So
Yes.
it's just a matter of
Yes.
standard practice,
Okay.
whatever the document is.
All right.
Do we haven't? Oh, they're coming around. Okay.
Yes, they are coming around. I started them on both sides. This is the draft 4. There's been much discussion in the background about this. The concept is that as we're approving or recommending to the board various work orders and proposals, that providing the board with some kind of ranking helps the board make a decision on which ones are the most critical, which ones can be ranked and perhaps moved. If we're looking at budget items, which does happen at the board, and we're wondering about, do we spend the money now or do we wait until next year when we have more money in a particular pot or budget? We'd like to have some kind of a ranking that comes with those proposals. This is a suggested way to meet the goals. Basically, the priority for the board is to take care of our irrigation issues. Water is coming up. It's going to be a big issue coming up, continuing to come up, but also it's going to become an issue within the community when the city water bill that you currently pay to the city all of a sudden becomes part of your dues. It's going to look like, what happened? Why am I paying this amount of money? There's going to be a lot of discussion. We need to be ahead of that and making sure that we're being very careful of taking care of our water consumption. That's second, of course, to maintaining and the facilities themselves. So our top priority is we don't allow no damage. That's why we put a tree removal at the highest level. If we have an arborist that tells us there's a liability with that tree, we as a board need to get the tree taken care of so that the community doesn't have any liability or any issues with damage or injury to anyone. So that's number one goal. Second is making sure that we're wisely using our water. How do we make sure we're irrigating properly? And that probably means some changes to the way we're irrigating. We'd like to lower the maintenance costs. We spend a lot of money just maintenance here. Probably the first one that we're all aware of is the hedging of shrubs. That costs a lot of money. Taking a look at whether or not we need to continue to do that or there's another way to handle it. So that's a board priority. And then we've made an agreement, I think, throughout this committee and through the board that when we remove a tree, we need a remediation plan. So that's a priority also with the board, but one that in some ways may need to be ranked and taken care of in stages rather than an immediate 100% remediation when we pull out a tree. And then cosmetic things. We'd just like to have a prettier plant outside this door. So those are the goals probably within the board, ranked the way the board would see them. And what we're proposing here for discussion from this committee and recommendation from this committee is that kind of priority. And then also how we rate that and rank it, give that information to the board. So we're proposing that if we have something where there's a tree root going underneath the foundation, that we would tell the board this is a priority A, needs to be taken care of. If we have a proposal where we're going to be able to save maintenance costs because of what we're doing and save water, that it's a rank B. That one should be the next priority beyond the foundation or the damage to facilities. Then C is lower water. D would be taking care of maintenance and on down. With the provision, and this is an extra add-on, that on any proposal that we say is an S, which would mean seasonal, means we don't plant this in the summer. So we might have, for instance, a tree remediation where, okay, let's grind it, let's put this down, let this get ready, change maybe the irrigation for it, but wait until fall before we put the plants in. So what we might see is a recommendation that says it's rank BS, and that would say to the board, this would be our second level priority. S, yes, I know what that stands for. I'm sorry. No, but the S would mean the planting itself, we defer until it does not take as much water. I think we've all recognized that because we must irrigate the turf and with the same systems as we do sometimes the plantings. If we put new plantings in the summer, we must give them enough water, which means the turf might be getting too much water. So we want to start approaching that on a step-by-step basis. So this is a request basically to this committee for input, ideas. Is this a good concept? Are there things we should add, things we should change?
Yeah, I had a question regarding, let's see, you brought up planting in the summer. Why would we plant in the summer in 100-degree weather when you can plant in the fall and save the plant from dying and enormous amount of water used? So why is that? Well,
That's why we're doing this now, because
Well,
that's exactly.
Why does it take something like this? To me, that would be common sense that we should be practicing now, yet we see a lot of plants being planted now when it's hot in 113-degree weather. So where's the logic there? Where's the common sense there?
Well, that's going to change now. So there we're getting some, so that's kind of where we're trying to get to.
But why wait till now? Why didn't someone's
I don't know.
light bulb go in?
I don't know, because we've got several different people around now, but now we are saying we are not going to do it. So that's the way we're moving forward on that. So because of the fact that we have to actually increase the water times when we plant in the summer. And so that now with the water having to pay for that, we have to be much more careful. So we are not planting in the summer. That's
Well,
where we're going.
To me, that's not a very adequate, I guess, rationale, because the grounds committee has always, well, not has always, but has frowned upon planting in the summer. It was either the fall or the spring. So somehow the concept of summer planting sprouted. So, but anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yes, thank you. Because let's take, for instance, if you wonder, if we want to talk about that, let's take the Zone 6 pilot project. We did the whole area, 15 homes there, and we did that in the summer. But one of the differences was that we had to change the irrigation system. We changed all the way of watering. So we changed everything from rotary, we went into drip. And so that's one of the reasons why. So it doesn't really matter then, because we're not paying extra for that. So, but we're not moving forward. We're really not going to be planting in the summer. That's the whole.
Yes, but I
point
think the
here.
board at one time authorized 160.
I don't remember what
Well,
might have done. Yeah.
Then let
Just-
me enlighten you, but the board did approve irrigation changes. And we're back here visiting this again.
No, we're not.
So-
We're moving forward on it. But what I would like to add over here, since we have got this up here, is there any way we can utilize that when we are looking at our proposals now?
Certainly, we could go through these
we
proposals
wanna-
now and say, well, if we're doing this on this one, see how it works.
Yeah,
Does
so
it make sense?
This would make sense here for us to, let's take a look at this. And since we've got these huge number of proposals here, perhaps we could, let's start with Zone 1. So, and look at that. We've got several proposals here. So maybe Cheryl, you could also then look at, so we're looking at, let's say Zone 1, which is Adelphi Court. Do we have that, Rick and Linda? I keep wanting to call you Nancy. I don't know why. But Rick and, it must be a singing duo or something, Rick and Nancy. So, Zone 1, I would say that, we want to talk
right.
about that?
Yes, this one is a proposal to add seasonal color to the roundabout outside the clubhouse. And then there's the walkway. There are two parts to this, and this is where this coding gets tricky. There's where am I? Oh, wait a minute. I skipped, didn't I? Okay. I skipped, yeah,
So
Okay.
if you're talking about the clubhouse and the roundabout here,
yes,
I mean, that would definitely, if you were ranking it, would be cosmetic improvement and it
yes,
would have a low priority.
that's correct.
So, and I don't think it even needs an S. I just think that's a cosmetic improvement that has the lowest priority.
Would everyone
So
agree
Linda,
with
would
that?
you give it an F?
Which would be an F.
That's the lowest priority.
yeah.
F. You
No,
give it
the
an
S
F?
is the addition.
Diane, you want to give a mic? Can you take that mic? You might need to use that one.
No, they're all turned on. They're all turned on. I think when we are doing our zone walks, that consideration is going to have to be made by the zone stewards.
Right.
And in talking with management and whoever is on our zone walks, to decide then what we want to prioritize it at. I think it'd be very helpful because I think that there are some owners who see that a bush has been taken out, it's dead, and they want to know, how come you can't plant it next week? And this way, I think it would give us a concrete reasoning that this is such and such a priority. And it would I think would help us too, to be able to.
I also see a consistency here. If
Yeah.
we follow this, we're
Yes.
all using the same
Yes.
ranking system. We're all using the same priorities. So, and if you look at Zone 1 and if you go to the beginning of pages, and Rick might want to address this instead of me talking. Adelphi Court, we were doing a lot of removal of shrubs. So.
Yeah. And I was just going to say too, like, this is, talking about using this on your zone walks. I would even have this printed out and maybe have it on your clipboard because that's really handy.
Right. Right,
So,
exactly.
Rick, would you like to talk about the two proposals then on your,
I'm not sure
Zone.
what we're questioning.
well, Zone 1, I mean, we looked at the roundabout, and we said that's an F.
Well, that was a 5. The F, correct.
Yes.
Goal 5, F for the roundabout.
What about the other
The-
proposal?
The roundabout was to put flowers
Yes,
Correct.
essentially in the circle immediately in front of the building. And so I guess if we're using this, it gets an F.
F.
Correct.
And what about your other one, the second proposal?
Adelphi Court, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. I'm count by 2. Did you know that?
There's
Uh,
two,
And
there's a second proposal for zone one.
correct.
It's on the screen.
Right.
So, okay, I'm going to help him a little bit. So it actually would come in to number 2, where we're conserving water and reducing consumption, because there are numerous woody, mature shrubs along the alleyway right over here on Adelphi. And that's where we said they need, they need to be taken out. We will do some remediation, but it won't be, oh, are you still here, Joan? It won't be as tall as the shrubs are now. And it will also be in front of someone's front door. If
Right.
there's a big blank space, we need to
Right.
put some plants in.
So that
right
would
now.
be a B.
So
And
that would be a 2.
a
A
B.
B,
a B.
right?
Yeah.
B, yes.
And then also I see there's a bullet point number 3, by removing the junipers by the tennis courts to prevent damage to the court surface. So that would be an
An
A.
A.
Yeah,
An A.
I think that's almost
Okay.
an emergency.
Okay. So looking at this, therefore, so are we saying that zone 1 Adelphi Court would be a proposal that? Do you have any further questions or any thoughts on the proposal here? Do we want to move, do we
I
want to
think-
move forward on that?
I think we should move forward on the proposal. I mean,
Okay,
we were actually the ones that suggested many of these things
yes,
on the walk. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So what about you, Rick?
We'd like to move forward.
Move forward. So do we have a motion on zone 1 Adelphi Court? The first section, Adelphi,
Then I'll move that we move forward on the
To-
proposals. as
on the
presented.
proposal, second. Hands up, everyone in favor, please raise your hands. 1, 2, are you raising your hand or not raising? Who's raising? 1, 2. So okay. Yays up, hands up, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nays? Nay? 1, 2. Abstain? How many? Oh, yes, 12 of us here, because Solveig's not.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Because,
Go ahead.
well, I think I looked over a lot of these proposals and I'm not against any of them being done. There's just a concern about, and I know you don't want to talk about it here.
No, it's
So
fine.
I just feel like we don't really know what's funded and not funded in the reserves. And so it's hard to say, hey, yeah, we all agree with all of these when I don't have a good sense of that. So I'm just being honest about that. I do think all
Yeah.
these need to get done. I'm not opposed to them. It's about a timing thing. Okay?
Yeah, and I see where you're coming from, and that's exactly right. But our job really is to try, and if you look at the charter, is to make this area look beautiful and for the homeowners also to have a decent place outside their homes. And I think it doesn't necessarily mean that because we have approved it, that it's going to go for approval. I mean, then it now has to go to the board. And the
Correct.
board then has to really look at this and then discuss it and then look at the financials and then look at it as far as the financials is concerned. What we're doing is our job here is what does the community need? And
Well,
identifying the need. That's
And
it.
You ask about, you just made, what is our job here?
Yeah.
And this rolls back into the earlier discussion on the landscape request stuff.
Homeowner landscape request. Yeah.
Homeowner request.
Mhm.
And some things can go through to the board without the committee ever seeing things. And sometimes we get to see stuff. So I think there's a gray area here that has to be cleaned up. I won't say we got to get rid of all of the gray area because that's never really possible. But we've got to narrow that.
I want to be really clear that there's no intent in any of this from the board to say you should or should not write a work order. it's better for the board to see a work order on everything you think needs to be done so that we can evaluate, look at it, compare it to the money. Just as a personal comment, I've heard some people say, well, somebody got something before other people who've been waiting a long time. I don't know where that comes from, but that's not what we want. It is very possible that with a ranking system, the board will say, hey, Carson, we want to do this part of this proposal. This one, we're going to wait for next year. That is part of the board responsibility to when do we spend the money? What do we spend it on? And what funds do we have available? All of these funds are basically coming out of reserves. So it's the board decision.
If these funds are coming out of the reserves and we're already overspent in several areas, now how do we justify that to the homeowners?
The board is responsible.
You don't, we don't,
How-
that's not our
How
job.
does the
It's
community?
not us. We've
How
got,
does the
it's not our job. It's,
If we.
our
if
job
we're
is to,
expected- Our expectation here is that we make recommendations, but how do you make a recommendation without knowing what the funding is?
we
I
don't.
mean, do we
because
do it
have-
in a vacuum like we're doing now, or?
It's
Not our job.
our job. The job of this committee is to recommend to the board. You make a recommendation, the board makes a decision.
And we have a finance division as well, a committee, and they are also responsible for the financial side. We're doing our side. Finance doesn't tell us how many plants we can put in the ground or whether or not we should do this. Their area is finance, our area is grounds. So if homeowner comes to us and does complain about their area, we really are obligated to take a look and to have an idea, because this is what we're supposed to be doing. And it's then up to the board. It's with the finance, together with the finance committee, to decide yay or nay. It's, because we have to have we are just with grounds. I mean, it's a lot of work as it is, just going around and looking at it. We can't also take on the finance side of it.
There is a lot of work to be done here, but it just doesn't seem reasonable that a committee would make a recommendation without knowing how much money you have,
Well, because,
how over, but I agree, we're not going to go any further than this, so
yeah.
we'll just leave it at that.
Again, we have to rely on the board because they have to be looking at the finances and together with the finance committee. Is there anything you wanted to say on this, Betsy, or no? Is there? Yeah.
That's what the board is elected to do.
Yeah, that's the, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Well, we all
well,
have a
let me just
responsibility to the community we
tell
serve.
you, let me just talk about the charter, our key responsibilities. This is what this is from the board telling us what we're supposed to be doing. And it is to review Nepenthe landscape on a regular basis, identify any issues needing management or board action, identify any issues with the Nepenthe irrigation system, notify management of recommended actions for mitigation, make recommendations to the board regarding planting projects and other enhancements to the common areas, assist and support management in identifying landscape projects for the upcoming year. All members of the committee must be thoroughly familiar with governing documents as they pertain to the grounds and trees. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
I asked the
and-
question and I'm not going to
Yeah.
ask it again, that
No, because,
recommendations.
yeah, I mean, I can't say, no, we
closed off.
have, I can't say we have to really look at the finances because, my God, because it's going to cost 30,000. We're not going to go forward with it. It's not for us to determine that. It is for
And
the
we're not
board.
reaching-
Okay, so let's move on then.
Is it possible to ask a couple of follow-on questions?
Yes,
regarding the ranking?
absolutely.
Is this on? I can't tell.
Yes.
You need to
But you
get it
need to
close
bring
to
it
the mouth.
really
Okay.
close, yeah.
First of all, I think the idea of a ranking system brings some clarity and focus as you set your hierarchy or your set of needs. My question would be one of, once we have ranked the proposals and they go into several buckets and they go back to the board, how does the board what is the board process? Do they say, okay, we're going to do all the As, then we'll go to the Bs, then we'll go to the Cs? Have they determined what kind of a policy they will in handling these ranked recommendations?
No official policy yet from the board. They would like recommendations about what categories they have to look at, what this committee thinks of this process. The intent is to make sure that the absolutes are done, even if we're really down to, hey, we've got $50 left in the bank account. What do we spend it on? They want to be able to rank the spending of the money. And so one month they may approve everything all the way down through the Fs. Another month they may say, hey, let's only go through the Cs. But what they will have is the knowledge then that they've still got these other issues out there. Part of the thing that the board does is plan your budget for future years. If they don't know what's out there pending, it's difficult to allocate what money. Just because something's in a line item, however, doesn't mean that's an absolute. You can't spend more than that. So the board needs to look at the priorities across the entire budget for some of these things. Others, that's an absolute. The A's you've got to take care of. That's the closest answer I can give you right now.
Thank you. And just one other comment earlier, I believe it was Carol and perhaps one other was asking about how you reconcile budget with actual expenditure. Is there a mechanism where maybe once every 6 months or something like there may be an approximate true up just to, oh, by the way, here's where we are. There's not any policy implication, but you've asked, and as I believe Christine noted in her, as Christine noted that even with this tracker, it is available in, in reasonable public knowledge, but maybe once every 6 months or quarterly, there might be an approximate true up that Cheryl might communicate to us from the board.
I can ask the board about
Yeah.
that. That's
But
certainly
nothing more
nothing
than
that
a
planned.
FYI,
Right,
rather than we come back around and say, well, we don't have the ability to do that because
right.
that's not the intent, just the idea of knowing.
Yeah. I'll put on my list for the board and ask
you.
them for their input.
In the interest of transparency.
So to go back to the proposals, if I may, we've got the zone one, that's passed for the one section. The one that got the ranking of F, what do we do in this instance, therefore? What's what happens here, Cheryl, with this rank F?
I think it still goes to the board. The board can make a decision.
Okay.
We really need to do that. That's right. And they can make that decision.
And
But they know what we think. Pardon?
It just may not have the same priority. And
Exactly.
so that would be one of those things that is in the bank.
That's right. We will
waiting
need
for
to
us.
come up with some
So
sort
in
of
other
a
words,
pending
if we
system.
don't have the money this year, look at
May
it
go
for
next
follow.
year.
Okay, so in that instance, we have a proposal F, no, not, I mean, we've got proposal, the second proposal for zone one, circle at the clubhouse. We have a motion to approve. Do I have a motion to approve the circle at? No, you did the first one. So can we, the circle at the clubhouse, do we have? Yes, it's a second proposal.
I move we approve the second rank, the walkway between Adelphi Court, the second part of this.
No, no,
Word
no, hang
order.
on. This is, okay, the first proposal that we approved was zone one, Adelphi Court, right?
Right.
I think there was a little confusion that.
Right.
No,
Because
we're
I
doing
had
the
these
whole
in wrong
thing.
Order.
That one is an F.
It was the whole thing.
It was the whole thing, right?
Because
Because it's the same
this
thing.
way-
We already,
Oh, God. Okay, do we,
let's
let's,
talking about the clubhouse now.
no,
Okay.
okay,
Are you talking about the two that are on here?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
see, okay.
okay. So did you approve the second part?
Yeah, actually, I thought the motion was
for the
for
whole-
the entire
Entire-
thing
It's for the
here.
entire
And then
one.
the clubhouse part was this. Yeah, that,
Yes,
yes,
yes.
yes.
So all of it for
Yeah,
76.
all of it. It was all on the same
That was-
page, so.
yes.
Right. But
Yeah.
part of it is ranked A and part of it ranked B.
Yes,
Right,
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now, second proposal for zone one, circle at the clubhouse for 4,725. Do you have a motion for this?
I move that we move forward with that proposal.
A
for the
second,
clubhouse.
But when the ranking would be.
Yeah. but the ranking
And the
F.
ranking is F. Yeah, I thought we covered that.
You're seconding that. Okay. All those in favor, could you please raise your hand?
So it's as an F, right?
F.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, God.
This is a low priority.
F.
Yeah.
F, 5, yeah.
Aren't you supposed to have a question before you ask?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yes.
Why are we voting on it if we are calling it an F? To me, it just,
We just,
it doesn't make
because we
sense.
just explained why.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
Yeah, maybe having it an F is not the best letter for it.
It's not the
The
best letter.
idea is to let the board know that if you're tight on money, if you want to watch money, this is one we'd put at the bottom of the list. That's all it's saying.
It doesn't
not fail.
it doesn't automatically mean that we approve, the board approves it. It just says this is the lowest ranking from the committee.
Cheryl, I think it's a great ranking system. I've used 8F, 35 years in commercial real estate, so
Okay.
I understand it. Thank you.
So any further discussion on this? Okay, we're ready to vote. We've got the motion, the second. Hands up, everybody who's an aye. Ayes, 1, 2, Dawn is not, you're a nay? Okay, so nay, okay, so, okay, 10 ayes, nays? Raise hands, please. Nays. Okay, 2 nays. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Dawn and that's Lisa. Okay. So the next proposal is for zone 2. Now this is for Swarthmore, 2248, 3 addresses on Swarthmore. Diane? First, we got to figure out do we have to figure out the ranking here?
Before we do the ranking, one of the things I think that's going to take up an awful lot of time today is because none of us have had a chance to review our proposals and rank them with each other. So I'm just saying, if you want to do that, if everyone's in agreement to doing that today, just be prepared that we're going to be spending time on doing these because some of them are involved 3 or 4 items. I have a question on 2248 and that's an area, clean area, remove some soil and add berry crop. Berry crop, that's my. That's gonna change that, instead of creek rock, I choose.
Okay.
Yes.
There is a manhole cover there that needs to be removed
Yeah.
by the city or just probably, yeah, well, it's got to be, something's got to be done to it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that anything can be done other than that right now because it's going to look the same.
So even if we were to, I mean, I know that's on my list of many things I have to do, is to call the city, ask them to come out and readjust that so that it sits level with the current ground. However, even when it's done, the Berry Creek, now you got me doing it, will still be around it. So I don't think it really makes a big difference as to what we're doing. Except that whether they do it now before you put the rock down or after, I mean, it's going to look substantially the same, except that the manhole cover will be sitting more flush.
Okay.
So would that area be a C, cosmetic?
No.
No?
I don't think it's cosmetic.
Okay.
We're not putting anything in there. We're not putting any plants. We're not putting any plants.
Okay, so
Or any
what,
greenery. Right now, it's a small area that's kind of ugly because you've got this manhole cover.
so what would it be?
I think-
Cosmetic? It's still cosmetic if it's ugly. Oh, no.
Well, there is no planting there.
No.
So actually, you know what?
I think that in some ways it is cosmetic.
It's cosmetic.
but
Okay.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's an F, that for
Okay.
that particular one. But then I have a question here. Okay, so if it came before me, I've got a whole total amount of 14,400. Now we've got one section here, which is a 5, which means, okay, we don't really need to do it. And so then we've got another area, the second part here, where it says remove the shrubs and install plants and then drip system, which would therefore be a B. So how does the board then determine what the costing?
Well, I think what's going to happen, what I imagine is going to happen in the future is that as we do our walks and we go through something, we may organize our walks more along the ranking system and avoid this. If we have something that we know is purely cosmetic and we've got it for 3 different houses, you put all 3 houses on the one work order or 3 separate work orders. So it has to do with how we will ask Carson to shape their proposals in the future. And not necessarily more of them, but group them slightly different. So right now we go by contiguous addresses, might be slightly different in the future.
And so we would have to therefore, let's say if this proposal goes through, do we do separate amounts for each address then?
That's possible. I'm viewing this right now as a practice for everybody to see how you like this. The board has no policy right now on how to look at this. We'll be discussing it as we go, but this is just a trial for them to look at, see what's coming. You first, do you like it? Is it working? Can it work in the future? That shouldn't affect these right now.
Cheryl,
I
I
don't-
think that the committee members have intuitively followed this process without a document that says this is what you should do. But I think, as I said, I think everybody here in their zone walk has said, we got to go see this because this is important.
Right.
And we'll walk past things and say, well, that's not so important at this point in time. I think your effort to put a process in place we'll see how it goes.
I think the process is good. I think it would be difficult to have Carson put these in an order. I think that's still our responsibility, and it may be that we take as much time as we need at each meeting. We just have to realize that's
Yes.
something that's for us to do,
Right. Okay.
to rank it
So-
and then present it to the board.
Comment.
Yes, right. Okay, accepting.
Yeah, so once it gets to the board level, the board may look at this and go, one director may say, I move to approve accepting therefrom this item that is ranked F.
Right.
But then we don't know what the cost is,
No.
But if they're approving for the
full amount.
full amount, then they know it's going to be less and I can report back to them.
Oh, well, okay.
Comment.
Okay. Just one thing. We're still on zone 2, so go ahead. Yeah.
Perhaps what would be helpful if in fact Carson could break these out by address, number one.
They are.
But no, specifically.
This is
Breakdown
the breakdown of cost. I think, yeah, we might have to go down that route.
Right.
And then 2, if we were able to have the zone stewards like number 2, we'd like to walk this and rank them, and then we would come back with a sense of where it would be, having physically walked it with this. I think this is a great tool in mind. And we have the information from Carson, so then we can really give the board a priority sense and a financial sense.
Right.
And then we could then recommend to our committee, and they could either go yay or nay.
I think if we're going to go with this ranking system, and it's obviously it's apparent here from just a few proposals that we looked at, that I think we might have to go to having prices for each address, for each area. I think that's going to have to be the way we have to move forward on this, because on each proposal, we seem to have an F and then a B and an A, etc. And it's going to get into a few little issues.
Yes.
So I think we would need to do is, and I think this is something with Carson, we might have to discuss. Yes, please. You need a mic.
Yeah.
You're not getting mine, so. I'm not getting mine.
So we are able to do what you're speaking of and breaking things up. Just keep in mind, as we start breaking things into small pieces, the cost ends up going up, because just like this first one for Swarthmore Drive, if we're to do the on 2248, if we're just to do that little piece while we're working on this other stuff, the cost won't be that much extra for it. But if we now take that out on its own and we go and just do that by itself, it's going to cost more, because we got to have manpower to go out there. We got equipment to mobilize. So the more we break things up for you, which we can do, your overall costs will end up going up. So it's better to not break them up in a lot of little pieces financially.
So,
Because, if you approve one thing and not the other, then the cost of it to us changes, because, it just to mobilize people and go do the work is.
so I have a question therefore in this zone, this one here is 14,400. So if the board decides, okay, we're just going to do the Swarthmore, the 2 addresses, but not, which is Bs, and we're not going to do F, well, the first one, and it goes back to you, then we're getting a reduction in the, how does that work then?
So I don't know the numbers here because I didn't work any of this, but let's just say if we pull that first one, there's 3 there. We pull the first one out, maybe the credit might be $500. I'm just throwing a number out there. If you were to ask us to go back and do that on its own, then it might end up costing $800, because we have to mobilize people. It's just the way it works.
So I have a question on, would it be better, and since we are wanting to be very sensitive to the time of year we're planting, would it be better if we did our weekly walks, but we, instead of requesting the proposal right away, we held on to our notes to make a bigger request for a proposal? So say a spring, so like in January, we come to you with the previous 3 months worth of walk notes and say, can you propose all of this?
If it's all then, and we can keep all that area
Mhm.
together.
So then it's just more about sort of a timing thing. And then I don't know what you guys think of that, but rather than every zone walk requesting a proposal, we collect our notes, we still do the zone walks, but we collectively start maybe ranking them, and then we request the proposals seasonally.
And what about work orders? Are we doing work orders as well after the zone walks? I mean, are we noting that? Does that still, or does that changes at all? Anything changes?
I think it's service request, like a homeowner.
No, work orders from walks.
I mean,
No, we would just, we would not issue a work order.
the proposal.
It's possible or conceivable, I would think, that if we did a zone walk and we ended up with, hey, we got 2 A's over here, and we've got these that are B's, and these that are C, D, and E, F, we want proposals now for all the A's, we want proposals for the B's, and move the others to later, group them. That might be one way to do it for a zone. I don't know.
That doesn't make much,
Okay.
that's contrary what he's saying.
Okay.
So, yeah.
One of the questions that I have is that talking about long-term proposals, I know in our zone, we have 2 proposals that have been on the books for about 2 years now, a year and a half at least, and they're 2 rock beds that we all know down the path are going to be a huge amount of money, because things have to be taken out, things have to be redirected as far as irrigation. The 3 that we have up here now, there is nothing there. They're all bare spots. So it's easy to say it's cosmetic, because we have irrigation, we do have drip system there. And it's kind of interesting, because if you go there after it's been dripping, it's kind of looks like a little mouse maze or a hamster maze, because it's just dirt and the water lines are there. So it's difficult for me to say that this is just a cosmetic, because there's nothing there.
Are we talking about this proposal here?
Yes.
Okay, so, so we've got the proposal in front of us here for 14,400. It seems that apart from the number 1, all of them are really Bs. Correct? The second part is a B.
Let's see, bees.
Bs, yeah, 2240 also is a
Well,
B.
I'm not sure it'd be lower maintenance because right now there's just dirt. So if you've got plants there, you've got to water them. Right now, we just have dirt. There's just.
Yeah,
That's not in the dirt. That's in the alley.
so we're saying then the other one is extend planter and then remove the grass altogether. And then install new plant material, which would be low water.
Yeah.
Add boulders, retrofit
Very small area.
retrofit the turf area to accommodate, so we're removing turf from there and retrofitting, so it would make, that would be a B.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, very small areas. Oh, I mean, they're, no, when
Yeah.
you look at, that's the other thing that's difficult. If you're not in the zone and looking at it, that's probably about maybe 30 square feet, 50
okay.
the areas.
But so we've got 3 areas in there, and so we got Bs, and then and that's for 14,400. So did you want to move?
I had a question
yeah,
that you
go.
brought up, and I think Cheryl brought up as well, and I think Carson brought up too. What if you have a home that has areas that one is an F and one is a B? And you know, how are you going to split that up? You know, that you can work, that you can work and make it economical for us if you have a home that has various rankings around that home. Well, yeah, it's by address, but an address, a home has an address.
Right. So the ranking is by address.
Well, again, if you have an address and it
Be
has
one of those letters.
an address has probably 3 or 4 sides. So if one side, okay. so
No,
I-
it only gets one ranking.
Yeah.
It's, am I correct? yeah.
Okay, just one ranking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to Zone 2, Swarthmore Drive, the first 14,400, is there a motion to approve this proposal? Second? Okay, so this is for 1 F and 2 Bs. Hands, everyone, all the ayes, raise your hands, please. Oh, it's just everybody. My goodness, okay, yes. Okay, yes. Okay, so then we have the second proposal for Zone 2. Second proposal. The
The
1006.
second proposal for zone 2 is more extensive.
Mhm.
And it actually was not on our priority list ahead of the rock beds, the creek beds. But it was suggested that we make a proposal for it because it is cosmetic and it improves the front of the house according to when you're going down Vanderbilt. Yeah.
So are we saying that the first one, are we removing? This says remove and grind old damaged sickly plant material. What plant material are we talking about?
There was a plant that was dead. They cut it back.
Boxwood.
Yeah, well, that's the boxwood. That's by the back. That's
Yeah,
by the back gate. The other plant that was removed was very spindly, and it was suggested that if we're going to take that out, there's a lot of roots that are coming up from an old tree that was there. So it would be better to take that whole area, grind it all up, take everything out, go around the corner, take out the plants by the window that are not getting enough water on their drip system, and then go all the way down to the other house at the end, which is 1016, because that would give it a continuous look. If you just do one house. it's gonna
so
be-
when you're saying sickly plant material boxwood, you're actually also talking about shrubs here, I'm assuming, right?
Yes,
Which ones? Doesn't say. It's just saying sickly old plant material or sickly plant material. What shrubs?
the boxwoods.
So therefore, this would be a B then.
Yeah.
This would be a B. It's not cosmetic, it's a B
Mhm.
for both.
All right, now, there is a tree, I would, well, never mind. I'm gonna say, the tree was not removed yesterday. I mean, but there are roots there, but so that's, they gotta do root stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So that, no.
That
I
would be
agree.
ground. That would be all part of it. But I'm looking at this because you're saying it's
Yeah.
cosmetic, but if I'm looking at photinias, boxwood
No,
and
it's not-
ivy,
It's not just cosmetic.
so it is a B.
It's a B.
It's a B. So
Yes.
both of them are a B. So, okay, so do you have a motion to approve this?
Yeah,
Okay, and second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and any further discussion on this?
What ranking did we give it?
B. Jim and Diane. No further discussion? So do we have all the ayes? Please raise your hand yet again. Ayes. Are we raising your hand? Ayes. Okay, so Joan, are you raising your hand? No. So 2 nays?
Yes.
Okay. 10, so it passes for 10 ayes and 2 nays. Okay.
Just
Okay.
a comment that is an
Yes.
entrance into Nepenthe. This
Nays,
is one of the first curb appeal potentials that you have. And while that isn't,
There's no sign.
there's no sign
There's no
and there's
sign.
no rank for that comment, but it's a parenthetical contextual remark.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. We now arrive at zone 4. You have several addresses here. Okay, zone 4. Over to you. Yes.
Thank you very much for the reminder. You forget, don't you? Dawn, you want to?
We're looking at the same issue here. I would move to approve this, but Betsy and Carson, I certainly don't want to see in the future, for at least in zone 4, projects like this accumulated into one price.
Yes.
I would like to see 2 prices on this. I would like, going forward, Betsy, I would like, even though it gets passed, I would like, through you from Carson, prices that each one of these are costing. Now, in both cases, I would classify these as B. Because one, we've heard our visitor speak about the area in front of her house along Commons, just on the left side before the circle. And that's been a lot of ground cover issues. They live, they die and stuff. So part of that is tree remediation. And more of this side of it is the first part of that, the 1425 area. The second piece of this, the 210, 12, 14, 16, this whole area has had, in addition to greater than 60 bushes already removed. So it's an area waiting for remediation or replanting. So, with that in mind, I'd like to move that this be approved as a level or rank B. And then once we vote on that, then continue the discussion on zone 4.
I have one comment to add. So since this area was torn out, it also says we're going to tear out more. So remove unwanted ivy and damaged plants. So it feels like there was a lot removed, and it's hard to tell where the unwanted ivy and the damaged plants are still remaining, because this was just torn out just a month or so ago. And while I think all of these deserve to be fixed, they've been sitting there for a couple of months now. I don't know whether you call that cosmetic or not. So I'm kind of torn. I don't know.
the second part, 210, that was the area that has already, all the removals
Yes.
have happened.
Mhm.
So now I believe there's just bark there, isn't it? There's some areas have got bark in
Well-
that section, but no plantings at all.
There's a big
So,
section in front of 212 that has a big V kind of area to it that really is not really any front yard kind of thing. It's kind of an extended,
right.
it's kind of a walkthrough, really. Yeah, there's still some little things in there.
Right,
And
right.
so it's hard to say, well, what else are we going to take all the ivy out? Are we going to plant more ivy? It's hard to tell.
And you're saying therefore there's really no ivy or damaged plants in that section?
Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, we can look at it tomorrow.
So maybe let's ask, Oscar, could you elaborate a little bit, please, on that with
This,
my
this,
phone?
Christina, before
Yeah.
Oscar, 1 second first. I've
Yeah.
asked this before as part of some of this process, that at some point in time, little, a plant here and a plant there, you don't need it. But when you've got a larger area, I'd like to see a sketch, not a fancy drawing of the area, but a sketch of, here's what we intend to do. Here's an X where we're going to plant the 10 bushes that we have in this bid. Some kind of
Well, we can always-
going forward, that this be some way incorporated into at least some of the
Yeah.
projects.
We can request that and see what Carson comes back with, right, Betsy? Yeah, okay. What, this section here which says remove unwanted ivy, some damaged plants.
Correct. It just on the other side of the alleyway also is some plants that need to be removed, because the ones that are being removed was like on, if you're walking in, it's on the right side. So some of them are on the left side, still need to be removed, not all of them. And then we have sections of ivy that at the time that we're gonna do the drip system,
Oscar,
we're gonna have to
Oscar,
just
can you
remove
tell us the left side and the right side of what?
alleyway.
Alleyway, the alleyway.
Looking at 212?
Looking into
Are we standing in the alleyway and looking at 212?
It's not an alley.
It is an alley
The
going to the corner of the house, but just
Okay, well, these are the alleys right there. That's an
There's a T there, isn't it?
drive in here and it gets you to all these houses. And then
correct.
this
No,
one
no,
has
but
an
thi-
alley.
Yeah, so is this alley here?
Okay,
It's not this T alley.
okay,
Is this all the way?
okay. So it's the 300 alley. You- Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can understand where the turn off is because it's all this turn off. But thank you. Yeah. So that's clear. Can you explain it? So right here, I thought that was all out already.
Back to the drawing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is the alley.
Let me get back here again.
No, it's the alley on the 300s.
Are you standing here and talking about left and right?
Correct.
Here, right there, right? That alley.
You're looking at down, so it's right and left side. So it's ivy on the right side and also a couple plants on the left side.
Okay, there's ivy coming through here, and I think part of Nina's question was, what about the ivy, the scattered ivy and stuff that's through here? You're talking about taking more bushes out right through here?
No, that's already been taken out, that word you're pointing out. You want to bring down the picture? So basically on that side right there, we already removed the shrubbery from there. And in this area, it's a couple of the shrubs that need to be removed. And some of the ivy that is still on those areas here. Not talking about the big area here that is the ivy is gonna stay. But those other ones, because at the time that we're gonna do the drip system, that's not gonna work out. Correct.
The proposal, if that's
I'll second it.
That was where the hell she was. Suddenly it was just, then suddenly right there. God, gee, that was done very well. I usually can tell. Okay, we've done a lot of discussion on that. Is any further discussion on this? Okay, all the ayes, please raise your hand yet again. Ayes. No? Yes.
It's his house.
Okay, it's ayes. 3, 4. Okay, so 1 abstention. Is the whole section your house? You own all of them?
So, excuse me if I may, so other committee members know, I live at 212. That's why I'm
212.
standing. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, I'd like to go back just as a housekeeping item to the work order request itself. And on that work order request, both of those areas were addressed, but there were also 2 other areas. One, the south side of the Dunbarton Pool, and 1004 Dunbarton, an area in front of that. We're on that work order request, but I guess we don't have any proposals yet from those requests. Now, I know we've covered them on our grounds walks prior to this. Can we look, as a follow-up item to check with Carson?
Why don't tomorrow be on a walk? Let's follow up on it.
Okay. And there's one other item in addition to that, is our homeowner requested a tree in front of 1427. I don't know what kind of small bushy tree to create some privacy and some shade, but I'd like to request a price or approval or whatever to have that done.
Yeah, and I think we still haven't got permission yet, do we, from the city to remove that tree? Or we?
The last I asked Paul, it was
still in process, yeah.
So it's still in process as far as I know. And I do believe the tree remediation has already been approved for
Yes.
it. What we're just saying is, can we add something for in front of that window as part of that
Yes.
project to that tree remediation proposal somehow?
Yeah, and let's look at it tomorrow.
Okay, that's fine.
And then we can decide, I mean, Oscar, you're going to be at that walk tomorrow. Is Paul by any chance going to be around, or you would be able to know about the routes and whether we can plant certain things there, right? You'd be able to give us an idea. That might help, would it? Or if Paul was there, or is that just to get an idea from the arborist point of view, since there's a lot of trees on either
That's fine.
side.
If Paul would like to come, that would be great. Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
And
Well,
if
but
not, Oscar can be there to do a camellia
Just
or
leave it,
something.
we'll leave it with you to decide how you want to do that.
Okay, and I'm sorry. We can talk about this tomorrow. It doesn't have to be decided today, but there's discrepancies between what Don was explaining on the work order versus what's been proposed. And if we can just figure out how to make those be the same before or after this is approved, I think that's totally fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
that'd be good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And good, okay. And I know now we're coming into zone 5, and I know we've spoken about this, Dawn, so
So can I elaborate?
you certainly may, but I just wanted to just check on one thing here. Because this is where what Nina was talking about, I guess, with the work orders. And okay, he does. Okay. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
Yes, well, I'd like to agree with Don. I think that on these work orders, we should have individual prices per the line items. I realize there's 2 or 3 homes in different areas, so we kind of know what we've got. The only of all the
work orders for zone 1 through 7. I noticed that zone 1 has a breakdown on labor and material and et cetera, and all the rest of us are just have a lump sum. I can't approve this because of the price of the 43,000, which if you look at page 1, about the 4th item down, Elmhurst is 209, 211, 213. And if you go to page 2, we have Elmhurst again, 209, 211, 213. Basically, there was one item that's changed, but basically it's the same
Right.
contents. So
Yeah.
we need a revision on the price, and
Well-
we obviously need this to be condensed into one work order, not two.
What I'd like to ask here is, since Oscar is here, for him to perhaps explain why we have well, no, well, but yeah,
I'm sorry, sure. Okay.
But Betsy, I agree. There's an extra item, and I think it is,
but
is it?
no, but can I just say something here? When according to the walk notes and when we were in that area, Oscar, according to the walk notes, we looked at 211 Elmhurst, and it was very clear that all we had asked for was the drainage to be repaired. But we said no plantings. No plantings. We were going to just first go with drainage upgrade.
For us, to do drainage, we're gonna damage all this concrete. And I cannot give level that area if we don't remove it. That's why
So you're saying therefore, in order to fix the drainage, you have to remove the plants. The plants are there right now and to level. So then we should then only just have one of that here, one reference made to 209, 211, 213, and not two.
Because some of those are
One
duplicates.
second. Do we?
I mean, it was a mistake. They didn't put them side by side. Like in here, they should be doing this here and repeat the other one instead having this in the middle.
No, but why are we having two?
It's because this one explains you about just the drain. And
No.
this
So let me,
explains you-
okay,
no.
hold on. So, okay, you with me here, Don? I'm just look at this
With you,
together.
but I don't.
I just want to look at this together. So he's saying on the first page, it's all to do repair the drain. So you're saying you have to remove the plant materials, remove stumps, reduce, install the 3-inch, remove turn, convert, install berry rock, install new plants and install. Okay, so then I go into the next page. Then it says remove all damaged plant material and removes, we've already done that.
No,
That's what I'm saying. It's just a mistake. on
So-
they're
that.
duplicates.
It's just about rewriting.
Yeah.
And removing this, that is a duplicate on the other one.
So this one still remains, are you saying?
Yes.
Except for bullet point number 1 removes.
Correct.
You remove that, but you've already added topsoil right here. Have you added topsoil here? No, no topsoil. Install new plants and add berry rock to downspouts. But you've already said install berry rock, install new plants.
Yeah, so basically on this, when I did that, it was a mistake of my assistant that basically kind of, when she's doing that typing, it just duplicates, it will do it, but we can fix it.
We'll redo it.
So we can't really vote on this
so-
today. We can't vote on it.
So
can't vote on this
so
until we,
Betsy, it can
yeah.
be redone.
yeah, we have
Yeah.
to get it redone.
Can you give us a breakdown per area?
That
I know
is-
it's more work for you, but it makes it,
No,
it makes it easier on us.
it's not for,
It's
it's not, it's Carson who,
It's Carson that does the work. And like Nick got up and said earlier, for them to create an à la carte menu of things, it's not always going to be accurate. So if you take one thing out and he's, like he said, if it was $500, you say, we're going to do all of this except this $500 section. So you take it out. And then later you do want to do that section. It's going to be bid at a different price because there's the
I
mobilization.
understand that. I would
Okay.
just like to, when I'm looking at, if you look at this work order, it starts off with Elmhurst Circle 501. I'd like to know what the cost is. And as I look through them, to get to $43,000 is what I would like.
is Carson have any comments to make on that? I mean, does it create extra cost? What is, can you
So-
tell us what the issue is?
Breakdown. At the time that I'm gonna break down those proposals, I'm gonna bet it has, you guys gonna approve each individual one, and that's gonna cost you more money.
Well, and the other thing is, and I think somebody pointed out about breaking this down and zone one was broken down, but it's not broken down according to the addresses. It's broken down according to each part of the project. So it has total materials, total labor, equipment use, but it's not per address. Well, and the only other thing I want to say on that is I think Carson will build the proposal anyway the board of directors directs. And so that's, if you guys want to make a recommendation to the board of directors that they request proposals to be in that format, then that would be up to the board to then negotiate with Carson
Well,
on that.
but I mean, if they changed it, I'm okay with the way it is in zone one. For a starter, at least I have an idea what labor costs, what material costs, et cetera, et cetera. So if they can do it for zone one, why can't they do it for zone 2 through 7?
Can you? Zone one, it's, in other words, design and plan services, is it management and job? I guess is what we're looking at. Is that a possibility? Yes, in zone one.
That
Yeah,
would be
we can
great.
do that.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to we're going to reissue the proposal so we can review it or work on this next month then. Right?
So,
That's, yeah.
so I'll make a motion that,
No, we
that-
just, we're not doing anything, so you don't need to.
well, don't you have to have a motion to table it?
No, we're good. All right, so are we done with the, no, we've got, but, oh my goodness, zone 6, zone 6. Where's zone 6 proposals? No, you don't, so you were good. Yes.
So the,
Yes. Yeah. Right, and well, that is in some ways maintenance, isn't it? And that is maintenance. Yes. And then spray, and then the other thing is spray and remove damaged grass. So that is a cost saving for water. And then install the black humus in area. So where turf was, so that is going to be definitely yeah, holds moisture. And then we're removing 2 small trees and not replacing. So that's again is a B, I would say. And then install or petal. Yeah, and so we've got little things, little areas, items there. And remove damage. So it's pretty, yes. I think all of those, remove ivy and hedge. Would that be a Bs? Those are Bs? B, the whole thing is a B, yeah. So whole thing is a B. Is there a motion to the 2 zone stewards? Is that a motion to approve? Yeah, 1 second, but is a motion to approve? Yeah, second, do we have a second? Okay, any further discussion? You'll have to use the
Now, if you go down to, let's see, Elmhurst Circle 412, removes Zelasma ivy. What condition are those in? Are they in poor condition or poor condition? Okay.
And it's overgrown and we're not actually replacing. Is it? Are we replacing it with what exactly are we doing? Yeah. Yeah. Nice. 6. So why the hell is? And there's a lot of maintenance and water and yeah. Yeah. Any further discussion? Okay. Bs. All Bs. Yes, we got, yeah. So eyes, raise, please raise again hands. Are you, Joan, raise your hand. Yeah. Eyes. Eyes 12, okay. No nays here, okay. So zone 7, but it seems that Solveig is not here. Okay, very good. Excellent. Excellent, great. Okay, thank you. Zone 7, Solveig is not here. She called me and said she was going to be here, which is rather interesting because we've also got that tree remediation proposal, which has been sitting there for a while. And so I guess there's not much we can do here, isn't it? No, I mean, we need to have her there.
So these are the photos. This is one of them, mediate complementary, but as you can see, there's a little bit of ivy and no shrubbery at all. You know, this is just amazing.
Well, I'm not comfortable with moving forward on the Zone 7 university without her being here. So I'm going to leave that one aside, but I think perhaps on the 1563 University Avenue, I know she was in favor of that. She did send, I believe me, an email. Yeah, because it's been in the works for a while. Yeah. And so if you see that picture there, Cheryl, that would be what B is that a B? B, what B? It's a B? Yeah. Irrigation and replacing. So she did email me and said she was in favor of this proposal. It was a little while back. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve the 1563 University Avenue proposal. So I need a second. Jolene seconds, okay. Ayes, please, again, raise hands. Okay, all ayes, yeah. And the other one, we will just bring it back in October. Is it October? Yeah. Okay, we have now, I believe, have we come to the end of this or? No, we've got one more, Grove, the dead tree. We have, I've got to go back to my 1066 Vanderbilt. It's dead.
Nice yellow leaves, but we don't believe that's the color it's supposed to be. So it's dead.
Okay, so that's your approved. So a motion to, okay, and second by Jim. Okay, ayes for the dead tree. All, okay, all ayes, okay. All right, we come to Carson report update. So Carson, you have the floor.
But take a microphone, please.
Yeah, not mine though. I'll even try mine. Yes, he's getting one.
in a minute.
Oh, sorry, did I miss you on something? Okay, so let's get the Carson report. It comes to zone steward comments, the next one, you can tell me.
So at this point, everything is been good, other than we start having a lot of leaves that pretty soon you guys gonna hear the vacuum again. And other than that, I mean, it's just more about the irrigation problem that we have on zone 1 that is being resolved. So that's why some of the plant materials on the trees is kind of suffering more than usual. And we just basically have the 2 days of watering, as you guys know, and everything else it's just been fun.
I have a question though on zone 2, no, not zone 2, zone 5. There was that irrigation issue we've been noticing on the creek bed and all around, you know, the round
1095.
and all around on the corner there. A lot of water. Is that by any chance, and you might know this, is that linked to the valves that are irrigating the turf and the shrubs? Is that the cause for that huge marshy area and that overwater?
Not specifically. On that area was because we have new turf and new shrubbery. We add up the water on those areas due to that. And also we have the ivy that he has, the hunters that is just available water. And on that area that you're talking about, just kind of slope down and it's a drain. So all that water just collects there and just goes down into that area. So in the middle of that area, it has not grass on some areas and it just collects the water. You can see the feet from the turkeys in there kind of playing
So it's
around.
not a drainage problem, it's a drainage problem.
It's a slope problem. It need to be redone with making like a dry creek on it. So that way that water can travel down.
So that's why it's just pooling and it's like a marsh there.
Correct.
So it's got nothing to do with the valves irrigating everything, the whole area there, that zone 5?
It could be another area there that it's gonna be like that, but I mean, it just,
Yeah, I mean, looking at that, could that be?
it's
Where are we, Betsy?
station 32.
32.
So basically you see that's a problem right there. We have the shrubbery that
Yeah.
it is watering with the turf areas.
Yes,
Correct.
so 32 is turf, and then we've got the shrubs. In that in that section, that's the account, that's the reason why or is it?
It's a combination of it. If you see that basically this area here,
Yeah,
that's where basically the hunters are.
yes.
So we did the turf renovation on this side and at this side and a little patch on this side and some plant material that goes around the 2 in front of that area and a couple in front of this section. But the most of the problem is station 32.
And what's the fix?
Nick can tell us what the fix is. He's gonna be involved in.
Well, as far as you're saying the area up there is wet part of, and so that's because the areas are combined and it's because we were watering extra. So we will be reducing the watering and that'll help. But the fix for the combination is something we are exploring and trying to get our hands around. Each case is going to be different about what the fix is. So we're trying to look at every area where you have this and figure out what the best way to do it. It's in this case, again, I'd have to look at it, but it might be that we take the drip from 17 and have it cover this and remove this from the rest of the grass. But we have this to worry about too. So we're trying to figure out every one of your areas that are like that and figure out the right way to do it so we can price it for you. we had identified that we have two things to, that could save water. One is we have regular spray heads still out there. And then we have these combination areas. I had my guys go out and figure out what it's going to be to replace all the spray heads with the better sprinklers. But I started questioning that approach, because if we go and replace some of the spray heads to rotary nozzles, and it's in a place like this, it doesn't really make any sense, because we'll probably come back and make it drip. So we're trying to figure out how we can accomplish everything for you and come up with a price that you can start working with, but we just haven't completed that process yet. It's pretty difficult, actually, because every area is different. And I think what I'd like to ask is, it might be a better approach, rather than us figure out the exact way to fix each one of these things to give you an exact price, is to come up with a budget for an area and say, you know, and then we can figure it out as we do it, rather than figuring it out and then doing it.
Right.
So I think we'd like to come back to you with with proposals that are budgets
Right.
to fix these problems, not to exceed X amount.
Right.
And then if we can approve those budgets, then we can start just doing the work rather than spending a lot of time trying to design it.
Are we talking about all zones?
Yes.
Would you break it up zone by zone? Could we do
Yes.
that?
Yeah, we'll give you a
And-
budget per zone.
And what timeline do we have here? Well, it looks
I
good
would
for-
like to have that to you in the next few weeks, so that you have it before the next grounds meeting, so that we can all just talk about it.
That'd be
Cri-
great.
Christina?
The sooner the better, because we're planning budgets now.
Okay. Yeah, we've been working on this. It's become quite a bit of a project to figure it all out. So we'll get it to you here in the next, can I say 2 weeks?
When's the budget meeting coming up?
No, well, Wednesday.
You're not, can you, by the 28th?
I can get you numbers to throw in there, but you
Yes,
know,
that's all we
we
need.
always have to estimate high when we're pushing it through like that. Okay, yes, I'll get you something. Yeah.
Christina, I was at the property this morning and I met with Alan, who lives at 1149. And you said when you were there earlier, it was real soggy. I actually walked around his house. Yes, the ground was wetter
Yeah.
than normal, but it wasn't like I was sinking in the mud or whatever. There was at 1095, there was by the right of their front door, there was a little pool of water. I personally don't think that the area 32 that you guys are talking about it has any effect on this, because I think the house at 1149, if you're there, and we can look at it in our next zone walk, is uphill from where the grass area is in 32. So the other thing that I think probably contributes to some of that is that's a very shady area. It gets very little sun during the day. I realize that's not the total problem, but I think that's part of the problem. And it'll be interesting to see in a week when we do our zone walk, how wet that is compared to how much it dried out from the time you were there a few days ago.
We
And I was
also
there
did,
this
we
morning.
did a walk about 10 days ago as well. And again, while you were away, and again, it was absolutely soggy. So,
See, it wasn't
yeah.
today. I
No,
I
understand.
literally walked around the house
Yeah, I know,
in the
but
shoes I have on.
yeah,
right now.
I know. I actually needed snorkel and fins to get through that area. But I think it'll be just, let's wait for the proposal. That's what you are happy.
The board would like that. Again, in planning the budget, if we have something we can work with, then we can start making provisions for doing the work.
All right. And then we can get more detailed into it as we need to.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. Any questions?
I
Any other
have another
questions for Nick?
question.
Yeah.
This is in regards to the using the vacuum that creates dust versus wrapping up stuff in individual packages. What's the status on that? And now that the
Well,
leaves are
do you
coming
remember
up?
we said during leaf drop, we would start using the vacuum
So-
during leaf drop.
And today, for the first time, I saw rakes. I saw rakes in the hands of Carson.
and they were breaking up the leaves. So,
They use rakes actually pretty frequently.
yeah, but I mean, even
but-
and then they were putting them in piles and not the machine.
Right.
They were
But I
covered.
believe the
Colin.
leaf drop is November, December, January, correct? Leaf, early, maybe October, yeah. Thanks, yeah. So we will, that's when we will have to get the vacuum back, so. All right, so we're now on to, yes, absolutely, yes. Mike, please. Yes.
Just wanted to ask, where are you on your tree trimming as you move through September into October? I think you were, well, I just asked.
Oh, I'll find out from Paul and send it to Christina, who can then forward it to the group.
That would be helpful. Just wanted to know if you guys were on track or all of a sudden you hit a rock or something and we're delayed.
Okay, and then so we're on to zone steward comments. I believe Kathy, you have, oh, same question. Oh, okay, then. From any others? Yes.
Can we have our zone walk start at 14:27 Commons tomorrow? So Paul can come to that first and then doesn't have to go to the rest of it with us.
What time?
I would like to meet at 8 because I'm selfish and I'm going out of town, but I can be
I know-
flexible.
8:30, would that work better for you, Betsy? Because you're coming in from outside now.
Is that too hard, really, Betsy?
It might be. Okay, so let's do 8, perfect, 8 a.m.
Okay.
Do 8 a.m.,
Yeah.
that'll be good.
I recognize I was asking from a personal perspective, so
Yes, I know.
I will be flexible.
No, that's fine.
So we'll meet at
14:27
27 in front of the house and discuss
that
that with
work
Paul
okay? Good.
first.
Okay, we will be there. Oscar, you understand 14:27, Oscar, 14:27 tomorrow. 14:27 Commons, 14:20, see, we didn't hear that, did you? 14:27 Commons, 8 a.m. No, 8. Yeah, okay. So, okay, anyone else on zone steward comments? Yes, you look like.
Where are we on this, the draft ranking plan? Is it? Have we adopted
Are
it?
there
or we-
general comments that people would like to make, suggestions? We have a board meeting coming up and what I'd like to do is go back to that board with, this is what the committee is in favor of. This is the comments, the committee. If you would like to hold a day or two and perhaps send me comments or send Christina comments. But other than that, it sounds as if the group is in favor. Is
let me-
that correct?
I'd like to make a comment on it. I can't quite tell whether we are determining what the priorities are on these projects or whether we are trying to provide more accurate description of what they are.
In some ways,
I'm
that's
comfortable with it.
in some ways, it's a combination, but primarily what is the most urgent or the most productive for the board as far as return on money invested. So it's not, it's both, but basically you're giving the board information to help it decide if money's tight, which one's more important to do right now.
Okay. I'm just having difficulty with the point of, the part about beautification, which seems to me that it's a very high priority for us in the big picture. Not to say more important perhaps than a tree that's about to come down on someone's home or car. But I hate to think that we've taken beautification and we've identified it as an F, which somehow sounds like
Yeah.
really not
Should we
important at
use
all.
the numbers instead of the letters? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So I'm wondering why we need the numbers and the letters. Why can't we make it simpler for all of us instead of saying it's a 1A or a 1F or whatever? Why can't we just use?
Because of B. See, B achieves a combination of two goals, goals 2 and 3.
Right, but I mean, you still could use one system, or you could, okay.
The intent of the numbers, and we could change the goals to A, B, C, D, E, and change the ranking to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if that makes it easier. Yes,
Yeah,
it's
because I
just,
think
they're
it's
two things.
redundant in some ways what
Yeah.
we're doing, and it's very confusing.
Okay,
To find the
all right.
goal and the ranking.
And I think to your point, because in our charter, it says the board's goal in appointing this committee is to support the board in developing and maintaining a beautiful landscape. So therefore, that's in our charter, the purpose of this committee. And so we can't really put that therefore as the last, I guess. So there's just a point on the charter here. Yes, we could put it at the top. Yes.
Want this place to be beautiful, but if you're down to, they're going to use this to help determine where to spend the money next. So in some ways,
Okay.
yes, it's beautiful when it's done, whether we do it in the water, whether we do it for maintenance, but if it's just for, wouldn't this look nicer? To them, perhaps a lower category.
Okay. So I just want to just add a couple of things on the zone steward comments. Dawn E, our zone 5 walk is postponed because Betsy is away next week and so am I. So we can be, when I get back, we can sort of try and get a date when we can if you so desire, but maybe best for us to do it by email so I can check with Oscar and just various other people since we have to do a day other than Friday. We have to do a day other than Friday since all the Fridays are already booked. Okay, so I'll get back to you.
In September, or you think we're going to?
September, I would say. No, October, I would think. October now. It's up to you. Let me work with Betsy and then with Oscar and then we can figure it out.
We all do a pretty busy schedule, but.
Yeah. Yeah, so we can do that. Give me, if you can just send me some dates. How about that? Send me some dates.
Is there a day that you prefer other than another?
I don't prefer anything. I'm not going to be here, so I won't be on the walk. I'll be back on the 4th of October. And I'm leaving next Monday, so I'll be gone. So yeah. So if you can walk but without me this time if you'd like. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for everybody. Just give me some dates.
I would like to start at 1400 whenever we start.
Perfect. Okay. So we'll just give me some dates on that. Zone 6, you and Kathy, you're going to have to work with Betsy on your zone walk as to what time you want to start and where. Okay. So Betsy, you just follow up with them. Zone 7 has been rescheduled, so also, but okay. So this is one last thing is I just got an email from the chair of outreach. Apparently on October 9th is when there's going to be a homeowner forum. And the grounds will have apparently some representation of the grounds committee. So I'm looking at all the chairs have to be present. And that's between 3 and 5. So they want 2 or 3 committee members to be at this forum. So anybody who's interested, could you please email me? Okay, anyone who's interested, could you please email me? It's limited to 2 or 3, perhaps at most, including the chair though. So so it's Sunday between 3 to 5 p.m. That's October 9th. So if you could email me in the next couple of days, that would be excellent before I leave, because then I will forget.
What are the duties going to be?
You just have to sit there and talk about wonderful how everything is. And that's it. Yes, that's all we have to do. So, and that's just, yes, and and how much work we actually do, but we need a salary for this. So, okay, excellent. Any other questions on that? I'm leaving, so, oh yeah, I'm going to get the minutes out to you tomorrow. So really very short turnaround because I'm leaving Friday and Betsy's gone. Freaking, yes, I know I'll be up midnight. So I might have Wi-Fi, I'm not sure. It's might be sporadic. So, okay. And I think we are good to go. There's no other homeowners here. Everybody seems to be quiet and everyone's happy. So I think we are now therefore adjourned.